We continue now at the top of Daf Yod Aleph Amud Aleph and Meseches Rosh Hashana. This is Rosh Hashana Daf 11a. The Brisa here continues with the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Rosh Hashana Botla Avoda Me'avoseinu b'Mitzrayim. On Rosh Hashana, that's when the slavery stopped in Mitzrayim. B'Nisan Nigalu, in Nisan, that's when they were redeemed in Mitzrayim. B'Tishrei Asidin Ligal, and in Tishrei, that's when the future redemption will come. We'll take a look at Rashi over here. The first Rashi is relevant to the last Amud. Noldu Avos, we said that in Tishrei the Avos were born. That's Avram v'Yakov, referring specifically to Avram and Yaakov. And Yitzchak, of course, it was mentioned, was born on Pesach time. Nifka Dasara, this is also from the previous Amud. Bazir Chronam L'tova v'Nigzar Alein Heroyon, again, means to say they were remembered in order to become pregnant. That was also in Tishrei. Batla avoda me'avoseinu, the slavery stopped from our forefathers. Shisha chodashim lifnei ge'ulasam pasak hashibud. What it means to say is that 6 months before they were actually redeemed. That's why it says Rosh Hashana the avoda stopped. The slavery stopped 6 months before the actual redemption, and then of course they were redeemed in Nisan. And the Brisa continues, Rabbi Yoshua Omer, Rabbi Yoshua says, B'Nisan and Nivra Ha'olam. It was in Nisan that the world was created. B'Nisan Noldu Avos. It was in Nisan that the Avos were born. B'Nisan Meisu Avos. It was in Nisan that the Avos died. Pesach Nolad Yitzchak. Yitzchak was born on Pesach. B'Rosh Hashana Nifkeda Sarah Rachel v'Chana was on Rosh Hashana. That Sarah, Rachel, and Chana were remembered again that they became pregnant. B'Rosh Hashana Yotze Yosef Mibeisu Asurin. It was on Rosh Hashana that Yosef left to prison. B'Rosh Hashana Batla Avoda Me'avoseinu b'Mitzrayim was on Rosh Hashana that the slavery stopped in Mitzrayim. B'Nisan Negalu, they were redeemed in Nisan again from Mitzrayim. B'Nisan Asidin Ligal, and in Nisan, that's when the future redemption will come. The Gemara continues, Tanya, we learned in a Brisa, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Rabbi Eliezer says, Minayin Shabetishrei Nivra Ha'olam. From where do we know that the world was created in Tishrei? Shenemar, like the pasuk says, this is by Brias Ha'olam, by the creation. It says, Vayomer Lokim Tache or it's Desh Esam Azriya Zera Eitz Peri. Hashem says, let the earth bring forth the grass and the seeds and the trees with fruit. So Ezeu Chodesh Haaretz Motzia Deshoim. In what month does the earth bring forth the grasses? The Elon Mole Peiros. We're going here on the words Eitz Peri. Sounds like the tree is full of fruit already. Haviomer Zet Tishrei. So that would be Tishrei. That's when the trees are full of ripe fruit. V'yoso haperek zman reviyah, and also that time period was the time of rain. V'yardu geshamim v'tzimchu, and the rain fell and everything blossomed. The Shenemar, like it says, ve'ed yalim and aretz, talks about the fact again that the mist came up from the earth. So those are the two indications: the fact that the trees were full of ripe fruits, the fact that it was a time of rain. That shows that the creation was in the month of Tishrei. And the Brisa continues, Rabbi Yoshua Omer, Rabbi Yoshua says, Minayin shebenisan nivra ha'olam. How do we know that the world was created in Nisan? Shenemar, like the pasuk says, a different pasuk in the same area over there by creation. It says, Vatotze aretz desha. The earth actually brought forth the grasses, Esav Mazriya Zera ve'etz osapri. Again, it brought forth the grasses and the herbs and the seeds and the trees which make fruit. In this pasuk, it indicates that the trees didn't have fruit. The fruit was just beginning to blossom. So Ezeu Chodesh Arts Malaya Deshoim. So again, same idea. How do we know which month is the month where the grasses are full? The Elon Motzi Peiros, and the trees are beginning to bring forth their fruit. Haviomer is a Nisan, so that must be the month of Nisan. So that's how you see, according to Rabbi Yoshua, that the world was created in Nisan. That's the month where the fruits are beginning to grow. V'yoso haperek, and that time is a time period of Zman Behema v'Chaya v'Of shemizdavgen zeh itzel zeh. That's a time when the animals are mating with each other. So the time of creation was also at the time when the various animals could mate with one another. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Love shukarim hatzon v'gomer. Again, this is talking about the fact that the sheep are clothed in the... Rashi over here says, Love shukarim bisman sheyisro shibalim b'nisan, meaning at the time that the stalks are singing, at that time, that's when the animals are mating. Alma Nisan zman zivug behemu. You see that Nisan is the time when the animals mate. The Bach here has a slightly different girsa. Svarim acherim, he says in other svarim, we have vegabe brias ha'olam ksiv. This pasuk is written by brias ha'olam. Tichsiv le'el minei mechen harim bekochu. It talks about the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu forms the mountain. So the point is, this pasuk over here of Love shukarim hatzon, which is referring to the mating of the animals, is written at the time of creation, or again in the first version of Rashi, it's written at the time that the stalks are singing, again in the springtime. And the Gemara continues, V'idach, now the other opinion will respond In other words, the other opinion being Rabbi Eliezer, who says that the world was created in Tishrei. So what will he do with the pasuk? V'idach nami haksiv eitz osa pri. But doesn't it say again that the trees are going to make fruit? So shouldn't it be that the world was created in Nisan, like Rabbi Yoshua says, not like Rabbi Eliezer says? So Rabbi Eliezer will respond, Hahu lebracha ledoros hu dechsiv. That pasuk simply means that in future generations these trees will create fruit, but right now they were actually full of fruit, according to Rabbi Eliezer, because it's the month of Tishrei. V'idach nami haksiv eitz pri. Now the other opinion, doesn't it say eitz pri, meaning according to Rabbi Yoshua, what does he do with the fact that it says that the trees seem to be full of fruit? It seems to be the month of Tishrei, not Nisan. And so to that the Gemara says, Ahu kid Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. That pasuk will be interpreted according to the statement of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. The Omer Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, because Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said, Kol ma'isa bereshis, when it came to everything that was in creation, l'kol masa nivru, l'daita nivru, l'tzivyona nivru. And some have the girsa here of a biko masa, meaning in the full stature. Everything was created in full stature. Everything was created l'daiton, with full intelligence, and everything was created l'tzivyonon, in full form. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vayachulu hashamayim v'oretz v'chol tzivam, that it was concluded the creation of the heavens and the earth and all of the hosts. Al tikrei tzivam ela tzivyonim. Don't read the word as tzivam, read it as tzivyonim. Again, everything was created fully formed. And the Brisa continues, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Rabbi Eliezer says, Minayin shebetishrei noldu avos. From where do we know that in Tishrei that's when the avos were born? Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vayikalu el HaMelech Shlomo kol ish Yisrael. It says all of Klal Yisrael gathered to King Shlomo. B'yerach ha'esanim b'chag. They gather in the month of Esanim. B'chag means on Sukkot time, meaning in Tishrei. Yerach shenoldu bo Esanei Olam. What the pasuk means is the month of Esanim means the month where the Esanei Olam were born. That's the strong ones of the world. That's a reference to the Avos. The Gemara says, "My mashma deha'eson lishna deskifihu." How do you know that the word eson over here again means strong? Kedichsiv, like it says, eson moshavecha. It says strong. That is where your dwelling place is. So again, you see the word eson means strong. So this is the month when the strong were born. So how do we know the strong refers to the Avos? V'yomer, there's another pasuk that says, Shimu harim esriv Hashem. It says, listen mountains to the argument of Hashem. V'esanim mostei aretz. And the strong, the esanim, the foundations of the earth. So the mountains are referred to as the esanim. So you see the mountains. Now we just have to show that the mountains refers to the Avos. And that's the next pasuk. V'yomer, the pasuk says, Kol dodi hinei ba. The voice of my beloved, behold, it's coming. Medalig al harim, it skips over the mountains. Mekabetz al agvos, it jumps over the valleys. Medalig al harim means to say it skips over the mountains. Bizchus avos, what it means to say is in the merit of the avos, it skips, meaning the redemption will come early in the merit of the avos. The harim, the mountains, refers to the avos. So again, that's how we see that the avos are mountains, which are the same as the strong ones. And mekabetz al agvos, what does it mean? It jumps over, it leaps over the valleys. Bizchusi mos, that's a reference to the matriarchs. And the Brisa continues, Rabbi Yoshua Omer, Rabbi Yoshua says, Minayin shebenisan noldu avos. From where do we know that the avos were born in Nisan? Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vahi b'shmonim shana, v'arba meo shana, l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael, me'eretz Mitzrayim. It was in the 480th year from when the Bnei Yisrael left Mitzrayim. This is when the Beis HaMikdash was built in the times of Shlomo and Sefer Melachim. B'shana Aravias, in the 4th year, b'chodesh Ziv, it says in the month of Ziv. Now that's a reference to the month of Iyar, and it means to say, b'yerach shenoldu bo Ziv sanei olam, in the month that the radiant ones of the world were born. Again, that's a reference to the Avos, that they were born in the month of Nisan. As Rashi over here says, shenoldu bo Ziv sanei olam, kishenischadesh Iyar, when Iyar began, noldu kvar b'Nisan. They were born in Nisan. Even though the pasuk of Chodesh Ziv is talking about Iyar, it refers to the fact that they were born right before Iyar in the month of Nisan. Inami, or Rashi suggests, Zimnin de Nisan de tkufa nimshach besoch Iyar shalavana. Sometimes the season of Nisan will actually go into the month, the lunar month of Iyar. In any case, it means to say that the Chodesh Ziv is a time when the Avos were born. They were born in the month of Nisan. And so the Gemara continues, Vaksib, but doesn't the pasuk say, B'yerach Esanim? It says the month of Esanim, the strong ones. That indicates they were born in Tishrei. They're the strong ones. And so the Gemara says, no, Hasam de Tkife b'mitzvahs. Over there, when it calls Tishrei the strong, it means to say it's strong in mitzvahs. There are many mitzvahs in the month of Tishrei because of the holidays. You have shofar, you have all the mitzvahs associated with the holiday of Sukkot. That's what the reference is when it says Yerach Esanim. And the Gemara continues, V'idach nami, in the other opinion also, Aksib b'chodesh ziv, doesn't the pasuk say Chodesh Ziv? Doesn't that indicate that the Avos were actually born in Nisan? So the Gemara says, no, that can also have another explanation. Ahu de isba ziva li'ilane. That that could mean that in the month of Nisan, it's a radiant time for the trees. The Amar Rav Yehuda, because Rav Yehuda says, Haiman de nafik b'yom Nisan, if somebody goes out in the days of Nisan, v'chazi iloni de melavleve, and he sees that the trees are blossoming, Omer, he should say the following bracha, Baruch shalochiser me'olamo klum, blessed is the one that there's nothing missing from his world. Uvara bo brios tovos. He has created good creations, vilanos tovos, and good trees. Lisnos bohen b'nei adam, for people to derive benefit from. And the Gemara continues, Man do Amar b'Nisan noldu b'Nisan meisu. The one who says that the Avos were born in Nisan, so then they died in Nisan. Man do Amar b'Tishrei noldu. The one who says they were born in Tishrei, b'Tishrei meisu, so then they died in Tishrei. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vayomer aleim, he said to them, Ben meyo v'esrim shana anochi. Hayom Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm 120 years old today. Shein Talmud lomer hayom. The pasuk doesn't need to add the word hayom today. Uma Talmud lomer hayom. Why does the pasuk add that? Hayom malu yomai ushnosai. It means to say that today my days are completely filled, meaning he died on the same day he was born. L'lamedcha, this comes to teach you, sha'akadosh baruch hu yoshev u'mamale shnoseim shel tzadikim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes sure the years of tzadikim are completely full. Miyom liyom, mechodesh l'chodesh, the exact day to the exact day, the month to the exact month. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, es midbar yomecha ama amale, I'm going to fill the number of your days. So again, that happened by Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's true again by all the shnoseim shel tzadikim, all the years of the tzadikim. So that's how we know that if they were born in Nisan, then they died in Nisan. And the Gemara continues, Ba Pesach nolad Yitzchak. Yitzchak was born on Pesach. Menolan, from where do we know that? Kedichsiv, like the pasuk says, La moed oshavei lecho. It says that Sarah was informed that at the holiday, at the next holiday, I'm going to return, and you're going to have a child. So Imaskai, so when is this all taking place? When is Sarah being informed of the birth of Yitzchak at the next moed? Ilema b'Pesach. If you say that she's being told on Pesach that at the next holiday she's going to give birth, the Kamar le Batzeres, and the Malach is saying to her that she's going to give birth on Shavuos, B'chamshin Yom and Mika Yalda, can you give birth in 50 days? That's impossible. So Elad Dekai Batzeres. So the next possibility is rather it was the time of Shavuos. The Kamar le B'Tishrei, and then the Malach is saying to Sarah that she's going to give birth in Tishrei. So Barakati, but still, B'chamisha Yarchi Mika Yalda, that's only 5 months. Is it possible to give birth, to have a baby in the span of 5 months? Ela dekoy b'chag, rather the case must be that it's Sukkot time, v'kamar lo b'Nisan, and the Malach is telling Sarah she's going to give birth in Nisan, and so it's 6 months away, and that's when Yitzchak was born. He was born on Pesach time. But the Gemara says, Akati, but still, b'shisa yarchei mika yald, is it possible to give birth in 6 months? So the Gemara answers, Tana was taught, Osa shana muberes haisa. That year was actually a leap year, so then you had an additional Adar, so it wasn't 6 months, it was 7 months. But the Gemara says, 1 second, so still at the end, ki midli mari yomei tumah, if the master subtracts the days of tumah, because it says that it was at that time that Sarah actually became a nida, so she had to go through that period, have the nida period, and purify herself, and only then could she become pregnant. So batzrilu, so it's going to be less than 7 months, and don't you have to have a minimum of 7 months to be able to give birth to a viable baby? And so the Gemara answers, Amar Marzutra. Marzutra says, Afilu lemandamar yoledis letisha ena yoledis lemikutoyin. Even according to the one who says that a person who gives birth to a baby after 9 months, so you can't have any partial months, it has to be full 9 months. But yoledis leshiva, but still, even according to that manda Amar, if somebody gives birth after 7 months, yoledis lemikutoyin, that last month, it doesn't have to be a full month, it can just be partial. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Vahilit kufos hayomim. It says Vahilit kufos hayomim. This is a reference to the birth of Shmuel. Right in the beginning of Sefer Shmuel, it says after the Tkufos and the Yomim, that's when he was born. So Miyot Tkufos Shtayim, the minimum amount of Tkufos is 2. Now a Tkufa is a season, which is 3 months. So 2 seasons comes out to 6 months. Umiyot Yomim Shnayim, and the minimum amount of days is 2 days. So it means to say that it's possible to give birth after 6 months and 2 days, and therefore it is indeed possible that she heard in Tishrei that she would give birth in Nisan if it was a leap year. And in fact, since the Gemara over here is saying you only need 6 months and 2 days, there is a discussion in Tosfos whether or not it has to be a leap year anymore in order for this answer to work. You could take a look at this Tosfos over here. The Gemara continues, Rosh Hashana Nifkeda Sarah Rachel v'Chana. On Rosh Hashana, Sarah, Rachel, and Chana, they were remembered. They were able to become pregnant. Minolan, from where do we know this? Amar Rabbi Elazar says, Asya Pekida, Asya Zechira. We learn it out from Gzeira Shava, from the word Pekida and the word Zechira. Ksiv Barachel, it says by Rachel, Vayizkor Elokim es Rachel, it says he remembered Rachel. Uchsiv B'Chana Vayizkor Hashem, and it says by Chana also uses the same word, he remembered her. V'yasya zechira me Rosh Hashana. And now, since it uses the word zechira, we connect that to Rosh Hashana. T'chsev, like the pasuk says, Shabbosan zichron trua. So again, we're connecting it to Rosh Hashana. It was on Rosh Hashana that they were remembered. And Pekida, we also use the word Pekida. Ksib b'chana, it says by Chana. Ki pakad Hashem es Chana. Again, it says Hashem remembered Chana. Uchsib b'Sara, and it says by Sarah. Hashem pakad es Sarah. It says Hashem remembered Sarah. And so therefore we understand that by Sarah as well, this happened on Rosh Hashana. And the Gemara continues, B'Rosh Hashana Yotze Yosef mi Beisu Asurin. It was on Rosh Hashana that Yosef left from the prison, Minolan, from where do we know that? Tichsiv, like the pasuk says, Tiku b'chodesh shofar b'kesli yom chagenu ki chok li Yisrael hu. Pasuk talks about the fact that we're going to blow the shofar at the new month, at the holiday. And the pasuk is going to go on to mention Yosef, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Yud Aleph Amud Beis.